Hey everybody, this is Bruce Bishop from ChronicleT.com. We're back once again with Tim Alcorn and Matt Douglas from AM 930 WEOL. Week number 9, going into week number 10. How's it going, guys?
New nickname for Bruce. Take 6, Bruce.
Take 6. It's been painful with all these weeks of perfection and just had trouble getting going today.
Yes, but folks get to see the final product, the polished, finished version. And as you said, Bruce, week 9 is in the books. Hard to believe that we have now arrived at week 10, the final week of the regular season. I know we say it every single year, Matt, but man, there is not a season that goes by as quickly as the high school football season does. It seems like we were sitting here literally just yesterday talking about the season opener and talking about week 1. And now here we are talking about the end of the regular season this weekend.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it seemed like we were just talking about predictions, so teams that we thought could possibly make the postseason. And now here we are heading into the final week of the season, and things becoming just a little more clear. Still a few bubble teams out there, but it's been an exciting year, Tim.
It has, and of course, as you just alluded to, the playoff picture is becoming a little more crystallized. We'll talk about that in a moment, and certainly some individual accolades to talk about as far as our regular season finale and the video blitz is concerned.
Sounds good. All right, so let's talk about last week and how some of these games came as things are coming together.
Well, I think the game that certainly would jump out as far as the game of the week, Avon Lake and Olmsted Falls. What a great rivalry this has been over the years, going back to when Jim Ryan was the coach at Olmsted Falls and Dave DeLugas was the head coach at Avon Lake. And boy, they waged some battles. And it now just continues on. And another one of those classic games Friday night, Avon Lake went into the ball game unbeaten, sitting atop the SWC. They knew they had a playoff berth clinched, but still it was a huge game, and Olmsted Falls on a 4th down and 2 play late in the ball game. Jack Spellacy rips off a 61-yard touchdown run for the Bulldogs to win the game. Place going crazy. Vaults Olmsted Falls now into a very healthy position as far as making postseason football. So, man, that SWC, week in and week out, every game is a battle. And as I alluded to, those Avon Lake Olmsted Falls wars over the years have been great, and this one lived up to the billing.
Yeah, it seems every year we talk about how Olmsted Falls knocks somebody off, ruins a perfect season, or knocks someone out of the playoffs when they may have the better record. But that's the beauty of the Bulldogs, and we shouldn't put it in that sense. I mean, they're not a spoiler team. They only have 2 losses on the season. They've been to the playoffs on and on for the last few years, so they're a team who knows how to win. Regardless of who the opponent's going to be. This week it just happened to be Avon Lake they knocked off. A big win also this week, I thought, Tim, for the Clearview Clippers. I think a lot of people have been watching them, kind of waiting for them to fall. Their only loss at the beginning of the season was to Amherst. Since then, they're running things off, looking to conclude the rest of the season perfect here. Another big win over Lutheran West, 36-14. Their team that's primed and ready for the postseason, and it shows on a week-to-week basis.
That was a Lutheran West team that was playing very good football. So, indeed, a nice win for Clearview, a win this week. Puts them into the playoffs. We'll touch on that in just another moment or two. Also out of the pack, Columbia. They need to keep winning to keep their playoff hopes alive. They got a big win over the Fairview Warriors, a team that I think a lot of folks thought would play Columbia a little bit tougher than they did, and yet the Raiders came out, got a great performance by Brandon Coleman, really put it to Fairview last Friday night, and kind of flipping back into SWC play, Matt, a big win for Avon, and they went over to Amherst and just really took out the Amherst Comets. Got a huge game, Avon did, from their great running back, Nick Perusik. He is just outstanding. He put together a stellar night, so Amherst has really faltered in the back half of the year. And one more game to talk about. How about Vermilion last Friday night? They won their first 2 games of the year, and then they got hit hard, and really hard, with injuries. Their quarterback, Seth Hurd, was lost for the season. They're trailing at Edison, a pretty good Edison ball club, and yet they found a way to gut out a win on Friday night. Great job by the Vermilion Sailors.
Yeah, how many times have you and I talked to Brett Colahan, head coach of the Vermilion Sailors, and he said, look, this is a learning experience for our team this week. I had the opportunity to talk to him, and one of the things he says is right now for our seniors, it's about leadership, and it's about these young guys building a program. It's wins like that do it for you. Everything they faced this season to come away with a victory in the fashion they did, 36-35 over, as you mentioned, an Edison program that's been very established here for many years in Northeast Ohio. Just a quality win. And we'll touch more on that game coming up here just momentarily.
All right. Well, congratulations. We're in new territory. We've made it further than we have the last 3 takes. All right, guys. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys here because, as we all know, the Orthopedic Associate Plays of the Week are locked in the WEOL vaults. I have no idea what they are. We can go on to that, or we can talk about the playoff picture. Your call.
Let's talk about our Orthopedic Associates Plays of the Week.
Good times.
We're talking about Week 9. So since you went first last week, and not only did you have the Orthopedic Associates Play of the Week, you had the video to go with it with that touchdown by Jared France over at Elyria Catholic. I'll go first this week. No, I don't have video to go with this, but boy, it is deserving of the Orthopedic Associates Play of the Week because not only was it a great play, it set a county record. So my Orthopedic Associates Play of the Week, Brandon Coleman for the Columbia Raiders ripped off a 42-yard gain in the third quarter in the ball game that we alluded to earlier against the Fairview Warriors. And with that run, Brandon Coleman became the all-time leading rusher in Lorain County. Boy, you think about some of the incredible running backs that have played in Lorain County, and I don't want to start naming them because then I'll leave somebody out. But for Brandon Coleman now to be number 1 on that list, that is simply phenomenal. So congratulations, Brandon Coleman. That's a remarkable achievement. Ironically enough, he passes a Columbia Raider, Dustin Intihar. You Columbia Raider fans will remember that name. Dustin Intihar was the county's all-time leading ground gainer. So not only does Brandon Coleman become a Columbia's all-time leading rusher, but he becomes the county's all-time leading rusher. But what a fantastic career he has had at Columbia. He has this Friday, and let's hope playoff football still to play his senior year. But that's my Orthopedic Associates Play of the Week. When you set the county record, 42-yard run in the third quarter, hats off. That's a great play, but really it just caps off what has been a remarkable career for Brandon Coleman.
Impressive. I mean, they make it tough over at Columbia. Not only do you have to be better than the last guy who did it at Columbia, but you got to beat the other 16 schools in the county to be the school's all-time leading rusher. And again, congratulations to Brandon Coleman. He's had a terrific career over there at Columbia. Tim, we talked a little bit about it before. The Vermilion Sailors coming up with their 3rd win of the season, ending a 6-game winning streak. Addison Painter, he scores from 7 yards out on a rushing touchdown. That alone brings them within 1. You could call that the Orthopedic Associates Play of the Week, but it wasn't because on the ensuing extra point, Davis McDaniel doesn't like the feeling he gets as he sees the Chargers crowding in on his kicker. He picks up the ball and sprints for the corner of the end zone, reaching out, getting in for the score, ending that 6-game losing streak, 36-35. The Vermilion Sailors get the win. That was all with about 2 minutes, 12 seconds left on the clock. But not only what a way to end a losing streak, what a way to get a victory in that fashion right there with a senior placeholder. Now he's a big part of their offense as well. He had a rushing touchdown in this game too, but the placeholder, I don't think they get enough credit. And Davis McDaniel, he's getting the placeholder in the books. That's my Orthopedic Associates Play of the Week.
How about Matt Douglas getting excited? It's like he's doing the play-by-play.
No, he's trying to make up for not having video, so he's painting a picture with his words.
Unfortunately, I couldn't get Edison for that one.
But you know what? That placeholder is very important. You because as a play-by-play guy, the snap, the hold, the kick. I mean, hey, all 3 are very important. So, hey, great job.
All right, so, Tim, it's good of you not wanting to leave anybody out. So I'm going to ambush you with a topic right now. Okay. And I'm going to give you a chance to leave everybody out. Who are your favorite – give me one favorite player from high school football all the way back.
Oh,
all the way back.
Wow.
Only one. Well, and he has to be on the air at 3, so let's get rolling here.
It's got to be you. I've only been around for 3 years, so I've got a
goodness.
short
Wow,
list here.
That's an incredibly difficult question to answer. To nail that down to one player, that's almost impossible. You got to look at guys that have played both ways. I mean, you got Matt Wilhelm at Elyria Catholic, who, of course, went on to the NFL. You've got Anthony Hitchens at Clearview, 2-way player, went on to the NFL. Wow, there are so many names going through my head right now. Boy, Bruce, that's a tough one. You did put me on the spot.
Then let me ask you this one. is there one of those players that has just dominated everybody that he's ever been up against? Is there a LeBron of high school football that we've had? Somebody who just dominated everybody?
Boy, we should have rehearsed this.
I know this is fun. I haven't done this to you in a couple of years. This is fun.
Just an absolute dominant player at the high school football level. I'll tell you what. I remember a few years back when Midview was really just rolling people up in the old West Shore Conference. The Rosansky twins, Danny and Don Rosansky, they were dominant football players on both sides of the ball. They would come to mind, but again, the Wilhelms, the Hitchens, those type of kids that just, would bring oohs and ahs from the crowd every time they touched the football. That's a great question, but man, it's a tough one to spring on one as you're doing video.
I know it's
a good one, though.
It's almost like I have this little hostility that I haven't even touched on. We'll go to counseling and talk about it. No, it just popped in my head. It seems like we'll revisit this later when you guys have some time to think about it.
A guy that I wish I had seen play, not that I wish I was that old. I truly wish I had seen Vic Janowitz play at Elyria High. From what I understand, people drove hundreds of miles to come watch him play when he was a pioneer. There's guys that you hear about from some of the old timers, and boy, you hear about what Vic Janowitz could do on a football field. That's a guy you go, man, 60 years ago, whenever it was, I wish I could have watched him play.
Yeah, that's a name. I've been here in the area 3 to 4 years, and that's one you hear constantly brought up. So it speaks a lot to his history.
So that was our LeBron. Would most likely be Vic Janowitz.
Yeah. You old-timers out there watching this, you'll have to confirm that for us, but that's my understanding. Yeah, he was that good. By the way, real quick before we move on to the next topic, we've been talking about these all-time rushers. Last week, of course, Drew Engel at Clearview became their all-time leading rusher. Brandon Coleman this week, the county's all-time leading rusher. Can't leave out our favorite guy, Kennedy Scaglioso from Amherst. He became the Comets' all-time leading rusher, surpassing Alex Knipp. Even though they lost that game to Avon, that's a great accomplishment for Kennedy Scaglioso. Can't leave out Kennedy.
Yeah, really been an impressive season for him as well. Amherst Comets, I know, in a little bit of a rough spot, but Kennedy Scaglioso is that guy. He's their go-to, and he's stepped up to the plate every time they've asked him to, it seems.
That's another school that has a list of great running backs. So for Scaglioso to get to the top of that list, great accomplishment, Kennedy.
All right, gentlemen, I derailed you, so let's get back on track. Let's talk playoffs.
Playoffs. Well, two teams are definitely in. We know they're in, or at least according to JoeIdle.com, Avon and Avon Lake. They've clinched their berth. So we know that first Friday in November, the Shoremen and the Eagles will be playing. Everybody seems to think that Elyria Catholic, with a win this week against Rocky River, they will punch their ticket to the playoffs. Everybody seems to think that if Clearview wins this Friday night, they will be in postseason football. Interesting scenario for Columbia. Number one, they need to beat Oberlin this Friday night. And then we had their head coach, Jason Ward, on WEOL last Saturday morning. He thinks, number one, they got to beat Oberlin. And then if they beat the Phoenix, he thinks they're actually going to have to find out Saturday night when there's another game within their region, teams within their region that are playing, until they know for sure. So Columbia, number one, needs to beat the Phoenix, but they may not know until very late Saturday night if they get in.
Yeah, Columbia's had a tough season this year. Their losses coming to Clearview earlier in the year to Kirtland, who's one of the best teams you're going to see in the state at any level. So it speaks to what they had in that schedule and why they're still on that playoff picture. But that's the beauty of the playoffs. That's a lot of fun when you see those bubble teams kind of having to wait and see what happens after they perhaps win a game on Saturday. And Tim, I know just outside the county, Olmsted Falls, North Olmsted, two of those bubble teams in Division II, Region 6, they play each other this Friday night. So you'd have to think whoever wins that one finds their way into the postseason.
Yeah, it's a big, big game.
So since we talked about playoffs, this is not an ambush question, so I know you guys have great answers for this one. What would you say the common features are of these teams this year, that the teams that are on the way to the playoffs or on the bubble?
Well, we talked Avon, we talked Avon Lake, we talked Columbia, we talked Elyria Catholic, we talked Clearview. What do they have in common, man?
We talked about breaking rushing yards records, too. So I would say the run games of all these teams are all very prevalent and all very, very good. Some of them have those pass games to go along with it, but it's that run game that really stands out.
Yeah, you have to have a strong running game. Come November, the weather gets a little bit nasty in Northeast Ohio. You better be able to run the football, and you better be able to play good defense. You can go 5 wide. You can go pistol formation. You can do all that stuff. Come November, it gets back to basics. It gets back to Vic Janowitz days. Run the football and play good defense.
Yeah, and again, I mean, just going through and looking at those team Clearview's got that double-headed monster and David Renfley and Drew Engel, Elyria Catholic, Leighton Banjoff, big part of why they ended up beating Bay. He had 3 touchdowns in that game. Avon, how many guys you want to pick out on that team? Mark Steinmetz has been tremendous. Nick Perusik, the obvious answer there. Connor Riggs has been tremendous for Avon Lake. So, I mean, when you go through and you can name guys from all those teams, it speaks to what that run game is.
And Coleman at Columbia.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank
on.
you. Okay, week number 10, where are you going to be?
Well, we have an unbelievable night on WEOL and on the mobile app and online. Our radio game, we mentioned Elyria Catholic needs a win to get to postseason play. Also needs a win to get at least a share of the conference championship in that Great Lakes Conference. They're hosting Rocky River, so that'll be our radio game. Rocky River at EC. Stream 2 should be a great one as well as Berea Mid-Park makes the trip to Avon, man.
Yeah, Berea Mid-Park, that high-flying offense. They like to throw the ball a lot. We just talked about Avon and the run game that they have, so 2 teams, sort of contrasting offenses, but both very good offenses. So you might see some scoring pop up in that one. And then, of course, our Medina County matchup this week, Tim Highland traveling to Barberton, 2 teams that both are very good.
8-1 Highland, 9-0 Barberton. So if you're watching this down in Medina County, that's one on Stream 3 you're going to want to take in. 8-1, 9-0 Suburban League Championship game should be phenomenal. So a huge night of football coverage for WEOL and the app and the stream.
Okay, well, we've laughed, we've cried, we've shared a full range of emotions. Tim Alcorn, take us home.
Well, of course, a great big thank you to Lorain County Community College, our sponsor throughout the year for this Video Blitz segment each and every week. One more to go. We're going to have a playoff edition next week, but LCC, as always, a great big thank you to you, as well as Orthopedic Associates. Bruce Bishop behind the camera, great big thanks. Matt Douglas, thanks to you. Biggest thanks goes to you, the viewers. We hope you enjoyed it, and until we talk again next week on the Video Blitz, so long, everybody.